25 centuries ago, the ancient Greeks created drama, before everyone was chill. The great Athenian tragedians Aeschyllus, Sophocles and Euripides used strong structure and powerful poetry to recount the tales of Greek mythology through the dilemmas, emotions and actions of fully fleshed out characters. What is cinema if not an evolution of that very art form? Yet, how often do you find movies based on the immortal plays of ancient Greeks? Not as often as we should, but exists, they do. And now we'll go through those rare films directly based on the source of all human drama.
And a whole profession was born, charging sometimes 200 an hour, and a 50-minute hour at that.
The form and style of Greek plays can be unusual though. Terms like strophe, antistrophe and epode, verses in iambic hexameter and anapest, and above all, the omnipresence of the famous Greek chorus, a group of unspecific characters interacting with the major players and commenting on the action. To this day, you can find variations of the Greek chorus here and there.
He's making this story sound like some Greek tragedy.
Lighten up, dude.
We'll take it from here, darling.
Woody Allen had fun with them in Mighty Aphrodite.
Children grow up, they move out, sometimes to ridiculous places like Cincinnati or Boise, Idaho.
As we go through the adaptations of Greek plays, we'll see the different ways filmmakers find to retain or update or eliminate the strangeness of the fathers of drama.
We're all just speculating on possible motives.
Let's start off with the ancient Greecest of all films, the 1957 Canadian production Oedipus Rex, about the king of Thebes who did you know what.
I hate to tell you what they call my son in Harlem.
It was written more than 2,000 years ago. Sophocles, an Athenian poet, wrote it for the great spring festival in honor of the god of spring.
Prologue-like, William Hutt sets you up for the strangeness to come.
As priests put on vestments and move in a preordained ritual, we put on these characters.
That's baby William Shatner in the chorus, by the way. Set in a bare interior stage, actors wear individualized masks and strike dramatic poses just like their Greek forebears would have done. Jazz hands appear to be a favorite move. Using a terrific prose translation by William Butler Yeats, this is the machinery of film attempting to recreate the experience of actual Greek theater. The chorus speaks in unison.
That sacred crossing place of lines upon Parnassus' head, lines drawn through north and south and drawn through west and east.
There's zero attempt at naturalism, and all those masks and colors can make it occasionally feel like watching a live-action animated film. And all this accentuates the power of Sophocles' play, which stirs emotion, fear and pity, Aristotle would say, even without a human face on screen.
Call no man fortunate that is not dead.
Many would consider an adaptation to be a form of translation, leading to a fascinating conundrum. In translation studies, the most basic question is the choice between foreignization and domestication. That is, should the translator retain the culturally unique traits of the original work and create a strange translation, or should they modify these traits to the culture of the new language? Basically, should you take the audience to ancient Greece, or should you bring ancient Greece to the audience? This out there Oedipus Rex is a clear-cut case of foreignization. It takes you to ancient Greece. But what if the filmmaker wants to bring ancient Greece to you? In that case, we should talk about the films of Michael Kakoyannis. The director of Zorba the Greek adapted 3 Euripides tragedies to film, all with Irene Papas. The first one is Electra. No, about the daughter of King Agamemnon avenging her father by killing her mother. These Greek families, man. The film follows the play's structure closely, but it cuts too much of the text, replacing it with intense staring. Electra tries to feel naturalistic, with understated performances and slow walking. But it shines the brightest when it deviates from realism. The chorus of peasant women is ever present, speaking in turns.
Ένας θεός.
Ένας θεός. Μας φέρνει καλές μου τη νίκη.
And Kakoyannis creates some striking compositions with their black robes, the black and white of the cinematography making them even more ominous. Great images like these are unfortunately absent from his adaptation of Iphigenia in Aulis, about King Agamemnon going through the sacrifice of his favorite daughter. These Greek families just keep getting worse? This time Kakoyannis decided to eschew Euripides' original dialogue, which is present only in brief occasional lines.
Όσο πιο φρόνημα μιλάς, τόσο δεν το αντέχω.
Είναι έτσι. Θα αρχίσω να λέω ανοησίες. Θέλεις?
The chorus is eliminated this time, their only presence being the streamed-down version of a listing of Greek heroes.
Το παλαμίδι σπλάχνο της θάλασσας, γοργόσαν το δελφίνι, το μιλιόνι, το θεριό της Κρήτης, τον έστωρα της Πύλου και το Διομήδη. Έριχνε δίσκο και έτρεμε το κορμί του σαν χορδί.
My favorite part is this line here.
Το ξέρω. Είναι ντροπή να βλέπεις βασιλιά να κλαίει.
Σταμάτα.
Οι άλλοι μπορούν, όχι εμείς. Το πλήθος μας τα απαγορεύει.
The use of color also hurts the film somehow. These sets and costumes, striving for realism, I don't care how realistic they are, they look cheap. Which reveals a surprising advantage of black and white. It masks low quality. Electra never looks anything but well made. Iphigenia though loses some of the mighty power of its story by looking so cheap, which it clearly isn't. Brief aside, it doesn't look in any way as cheap as those awful Pasolini adaptations of Oedipus Rex and Medea. They don't use any of the dialogue and structure of the original plays and they're terrible to boot. This quick mention for completeness sake is all they're worth. By Apollo, how much I hate Pasolini! Back to Kakoyannis, let's talk about his second and best tragedy, the Trojan Women, about the sad widows and orphans of the Trojan War lamenting losing everything and everyone they ever loved and being reduced to slavery. A cheery good time. The dialogue comes entirely from a beautiful and faithful translation by Edith Hamilton, and the cast is mouth-watering.
No woman, Trojan, Greek or stranger had sons like mine to be proud of.
The great Catherine Hepburn as Hecuba.
I saw them fall beneath Greek spears.
Vanessa Redgrave as Andromache. Irene Papas, of course, as Helen. Geneviève Bujold and her eyes as Cassandra. And who is this talented young man here?
Your child must die!
Oh right, Brian Blessed. This time Kakoyannis fully embraces the chorus in all its strangeness. Though the sets and costumes are realistic, the style doesn't always try to stick to realism. In a couple scenes, characters break the fourth wall and violent cuts and extreme close-ups follow the drama alongside the music.
There. Dead. Cast out. Naked. And while be seeking food.
And still, Michael Kakoyannis is not the director who shot the most adaptations of Greek plays, meaning it's time to talk about the fascinating Italian filmmaker Vittorio Cotafavi.
Buonasera, io sono Vittorio Cotafavi.
You may remember me from such films as Hercules Conquers Atlantis, Legions of Cleopatra, Son of El Cid, and Goliath and the Dragon, aka Hercules' Revenge. It's true, he made all those movies. And he directed 4 Greek plays for Italian television, 2 Antigones, the Trojan Women, and the Persians, the only Aeschyllus adaptation you'll find, if you find it. In every case, he used faithful Italian translations of the text and never sought excessive realism. His means are limited, but creativity abounds. In his prologues, he personally introduces the backstory of each play and gives some of his directorial intentions to justify how little money he used. In the second Antigone, for example, he explains how they shot on ruins with highways and cars in the background to imply how struggles from the past are reflected in our time.
È un modo per verificare insieme la validità dell'opera, per vedere se i problemi morali e sociali dell'Antigone ci toccano ancora nel cuore e nella coscienza.
If it sounds like that forced, boring bullshit you had to make up in literature class to get a passing grade, I agree. So allow me to give Vittorio my personal translation.
Questo è il luogo che ho scelto per la rappresentazione. Una cava di tuffo. Il potere, per operare, deve annullare l'individuo. Ecco perché solo al momento di esprimersi i personaggi del coro alzano la maschera e rivelano il volto.
Antigone is about how Oedipus' daughter disobeys her uncle Creon's decree, which prohibits her dead brother from being buried. This leads to her death, of course, and her cousins/boyfriends, and her aunts. Dear Greek families, stop being you? Kotafavi's first adaptation of Antigone had the largest sets. In this confined space, his characters walk around, up and down, always followed by the camera. The chorus was reduced to 2 priests and 2 soldiers. His Trojan Women is presented as a rehearsal for the stage. No costumes and no sets. In the second Antigone, he reduced the chorus to 1 single woman and tried to make you the remaining citizens of Thebes by having the characters interact with the camera throughout.
E anche costoro sanno che fu un'azione giusta, ma la paura li fa tacere.
The Persians has a larger chorus of similarly dressed men. The camera can move from one to the other, or it can follow each speaker as he guides it to the next one, like passing a baton. Kotafavi's 3 last tragedies were made in the era when zoom lenses reigned. Kakoyanis uses a lot of zooms in Iphigenia and his Trojan Women, but Kotafavi goes absolutely insane with zooms. You'll find zooming marathons. As characters speak their poetic monologues, they can stand in place while the camera zooms in on their faces. Again, and again, and again, and again. It's incredible how these plays can accept any style. They have drama and beauty that is evergreen, ever inspiring. Those Greeks were profoundly wise. How did they do it? Personally, I have a theory. I believe they used Skillshare, which happens to be this video's sponsor. What could be more appropriate than this modern Athenian agora? Skillshare is an online learning community where experts can teach you just about everything you feel like. You'll become knowledgeable and talented like an ancient Greek author in no time. You can learn languages, music, painting, philosophy, creative writing, film editing, color grading, screenwriting, photography, animation. Since I edit on DaVinci Resolve, I've been taking this class on the fusion function, and I'm learning so many possibilities I never knew were right there within my grasp. I feel like a non-Greek speaking barbarian just now introduced to the civilizing light of Hellas. The first 500 people to use the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. It's just like what Sophocles said. You know, that famous quote, "Consider no person happy until they have attained a full month free trial of Skillshare using MovieWise's link in the description." That always tears me up. Thank you Skillshare for sponsoring the video. Now let's get back to Greece. If you think Kotafavi's Greek tetralogy is obscure, why don't we switch to Jean-Marie Straub and Daniel Ouillet? This filmmaking couple that profoundly hates you and your free time also adapted Sophocles' Antigone. They didn't use the original text, but Brecht's adaptation, which is based on the famously idiosyncratic translation by Hölderlin, who was literally insane.
Staub aufsammelnder, du färbst mir, scheint's ein rotes Wort.
You cannot be a pretentious douchebag without going full Brecht, so the directors use all sorts of distancing effects to make the audience actively think about how much they're wasting their time. Every character but Creon stands perfectly still and speaks in an uncanny monotone.
Sagten sie dir's oder sagten sie's nicht, was mehr gehäuft sein soll auf des Oedipus, hinschwindend Geschlecht?
The chorus consists of 4 men who love this spot here. They sometimes speak in unison, as ancient Greeks. And when there's no one else on stage, the camera will pan and shoot the empty ground while they speak.
Denn der über die Nacht des Meers, wenn gegen den Winter weht,
for minutes at a time. There's a character who dies and is left there on the ground, which is almost funny. The film is shot in the actual Greek theater Segesta in Sicily. You'll see the modern world in the background. Insert silly artsy-fartsy excuse about thematic intent here. Like almost everything Straub Ouillet ever made, it's just eye-roll-inducing pseudo-intellectual mumbo-jumbo to give obnoxious and humorless college kids a smirk. If it's watchable at all, it's 100% thanks to the text. I can hardly wait for the comments saying, "You just don't get it." In case you haven't had your dose of Antigone today, here's a 4th one. This 1961 Greek film starring, you guessed it, Irene Papas follows Sophocles closely, though the dialogue is often adapted. Scenes only narrated in the play are exhibited on screen. It's the only film mentioned here that takes place mostly in interiors instead of exteriors. and everyone in the chorus looks like Moses. Besides these straight adaptations of classical plays, some other films took the stories as inspiration without adhering to the books themselves. Lars von Trier adapted Medea for TV using a screenplay from the master Karl Theodor Dreyer himself, and the film is full of exquisite images, sometimes reminiscent of Tarkovsky. Hungarian legend Miklos Jancsó made Beloved Electra, loosely based on the story. It's mostly an excuse to shoot his outrageously long, outrageous takes, and they are pretty astounding. That's the power of Greek playwrights. Dozens of centuries later, they can still inspire. These are stories of extreme characters in extreme conflicts after all.
I would still be joyful to know that every bone of your life is broken. You are left hopeless, friendless, mateless, childless.
Whether filmmakers choose to make the stories realistic or formalistic, whether they take the audience to ancient Greece or bring ancient Greece to the audience, they are fire for creativity. In the end, you might need nothing at all besides these wonderful words and truthful actors to bring them to life. After all, you don't survive 2 millennia and a half if you are not worth repeating.
Count no man happy, however fortunate, before he dies.